Our reading comes from the Gospel of Matthew, the 25th chapter. Again, the kingdom of God is like a wealthy landowner who was going on a journey and called in 3 workers, entrusting some funds to them. The first was given $5,000, the second $2,000, and the third $1,000, each according to their own ability. Then the landowner went away. Immediately the worker who received $5,000 went and invested it and made another 5. In the same way, the worker who received the $2,000 doubled that figure, but the worker who received the $1,000 instead went off and dug a hole in the ground and buried the money. For a long absence, the traveler returned home and settled accounts with them. The one who had received $5,000 came forward, bringing the additional 5, saying, "You entrusted me with $5,000. Here are 5,000 more." The landowner said, "Well done. You are a good and faithful worker. Since you were dependable in a small matter, I will put you in charge of larger affairs. Come, share my joy." The one who had received the 2,000 then stepped forward with the additional 2, saying, "You entrusted me with 2,000. Here are 2,000 more." The landowner said to this one, "Cleverly done. You too are a good and faithful worker. Since you were dependable in a small matter, I will put you in charge of larger affairs. Come, share my joy." Finally, the one who had received the 1,000 stepped forward and said to the landowner, "Knowing your ruthlessness, you who reap where you did not sow and gather where you did not scatter, and fearing your wrath, and went off and buried your $1,000 in the ground, here is your money back." The landowner exclaimed, "You worthless, lazy lout. So you know that I reap where I don't sow and gather where I don't scatter, do you? All the more reason to deposit my money with the bankers, so that on my return I could have it back with interest." Hey, yes. "All the more reason to deposit my money with the bankers, so that on my own return I could have had it back with interest. You there, take the 1,000 away from this bum and give it to the one with 10,000. Those who have will get more until they grow rich, while those who have not will lose even the little they have. Throw this worthless one outside into the darkness, where there is wailing and grinding of teeth." This is apparently the good news, the gospel of So I used a different translation if you couldn't tell. That's the inclusive version, where it refers to them more as workers instead of slaves, and gives us currency that we better understand. So this morning I want to spend our sermon time together reviewing how we have done as a congregation over the past year, where God has shown up and where God is leading us to go. And so I think a fair question is, how do you evaluate the life of a faith community? How do you evaluate a congregation? There are a lot of suggestions that bishops and church ministry gurus will offer. Of course, those wanting to be a mega church or who believe size is the most important will measure success in the form of butts in the pews or butts in chairs these days. And the problem with that is the primary marker of success is that it tells us nothing about the spiritual development of those who actually gather and show up. So it has to be more than just worship attendance. Another marker, so you have butts in the seat. The other marker a lot of gurus will tell you is butts and bucks. And so the financial standing of a congregation. That the financial vitality is a primary marker if a congregation is healthy and vital and sustainable, and that it is essential for a congregation to have more money come in than goes out, to be more in the black than in the red. But when we only focus on the financials, or when it becomes the most important thing, you can have a lot of money come in, but it doesn't mean that that money is going back out into the mission and ministry of the church, that it's making a difference and impact in the community you are part of. I know plenty of churches that have endowments so largely truly do not know what to do with it. They have so much money, they do not know how to use it for good in the world. So then, what? How? Oh my God, I'm trying to that's Not right now. Give me 15 minutes. That's not going to work. So how do we know if we're a faithful congregation? I think one of the things that we can do, and in my personal opinion, one of the best ways we can measure whether we are a faithful congregation is how well we are living into our purpose and values, how well we are living into why we exist and the impact we feel God is calling us to make in the world. And so our core purpose is to grow passionate followers of Jesus who celebrate Christ, care for others, and serve the world. Our budget is grounded in that, right? You noticed it last week. We have 3 ministry items: celebrate Christ, care for others, serve the world. It's a core part of who we are and what we do. And our vision for this year was rooted in our spiritual appeal from back in February, which was to continue doing a lot of things we're already doing. We weren't going to reinvent the wheel, but we were going to invest in being a teaching congregation, to continue investing in being a teaching congregation, continue investing in our children and youth and family ministry, and to continue being a Bible congregation. So I want to walk through each of those 3 core purposes to show you how we've lived it out this year. So while not technically in 2023, I'm going to use a 12-month metric, if you will. So starting all the way back in December, Messiah Lutheran Church of Telgi welcomed us into their space to host a Christmas Eve service. I wanted to do it out here and do like Christmas under the stars, but it was like 40 degrees with like 30-mile-per-hour winds. Sounded like a disaster waiting to happen. And so we partnered with Messiah and used their space for worship. So this is us getting set up. Jason Harbault created this really beautiful backdrop for that worship service. And we filled the space. It was our largest gathering since before the pandemic. It's this Christmas Eve service. One of my favorite pictures to come out of that as well. And you're going to notice, you might not have seen a lot of these pictures, and that's because our social media person intentionally didn't post them so you could see them this morning too. Another thing that came out of that partnership was we discovered a hidden talent that I didn't know Greg had. Let's see if this will go. Anybody guess the song? Yeah. So it was really close to Here Comes Santa Claus. It's like our Lutheran anthem. Hero, what is it? Mighty Fortress, yeah. I never knew he played piano, and Greg also didn't grow up Lutheran, so the fact he just got behind the piano one day and just started hammering that away was enjoyable to say the least. We welcomed Steve and Wendy into our faith community. We gathered around a campfire for our Ash Wednesday service, and we did it here. And one of the nice things about that service was we actually had people. One of the intended goals of it is to have people who aren't currently part of our community join us, and we did. We had some people who already had ashes on their forehead come and join us and worship with us on Ash Wednesday. We had our communion milestone. Again, one of the ways that we're trying to invest in our children and youth ministry is through milestone ministry. So we don't call it First Communion because here at Celebration, if you put your hands up, you're going to get bread. And so it's a communion milestone. So they got to hear the story of the Lord's Supper done through godly play. And then Patricia actually worked alongside them to make homemade bread that they used for their communion milestone that day. We had 5 baptisms this year. Here are 3 of them, Nolan, Hudson, and Emmy, as well as the one just last month with Jason and Ruben. Most baptisms I've done in a year here since being here. We also did Easter here. Bella made it really hard to gather the eggs. I don't know other than Michael if anybody could get the one off the top of her head. And we crammed into the doghouse to bless many, many backpacks. Some of the other highlights is that we had 51 in-person worship services this year, and you may be saying, well, there's 52 weeks in the year, and you'd be correct. We showed up one day, and this place was flooded. The patio was flooded, this building was flooded. So we moved to online, and then magically the weather cleared up, and we had more first-time guests that day than any other Sunday of the year. And so we're going to say we had 52 weeks of in-person worship, and it was glorious. We enjoyed some pretty awesome Christian experiences, like our Monday, Thursday dinner at church, our Good Friday service with Messiah, which included a mime show. It was very interesting. Yeah, their high school students put on a mime show of the Good Friday story. We had blessing to the animals. We had a special blessing for Pastor Chris, who was the founder of this congregation 16 years ago, planted this congregation. And so we blessed and sent him as his time on the Senate staff came to an end, and as he begins to plant a new ministry and mission called St. Francis in this city, which he's doing that in Houston. We rotated through various homes for Edmonton's Food Supper, and we shifted between an indoor and outdoor Christian community. Next one is caring for others. This year we said goodbye to Chuck Scanland, who the first funeral we've had here in 6 or 7 years. Chuck was an integral part of this community, especially with his gifts and talents in the band. He begged me for months to incorporate something called Guess That Song, which we would do during the offering. And it exposed how poor of classic rock knowledge I have, because I knew nothing he was playing. But Don was typically pretty good at guessing them.
We found out that Metallica works in a church setting.
Yeah. He even did it when we moved online. So we give thanks for the life of Chuck. We continue to expand Godly Play, including 2 Sundays in which the sermon was a Godly Play story. This has been a huge investment, both in time and energy as well as financially, and so we wanted to show you what Godly Play looks like. This is a picture. Sammy, is she in here? This is one of the first Sundays that we did Godly Play, and you see they're kind of happy, but this corner looks very different. They used to have to bring all the supplies with them every Sunday, and so we invested in this bookshelf that has actually helped immensely, because part of Godly Play is allowing them to do their work, and work means that they get to pick anything up off the shelf and explore that story. We actually had to buy 2 more bags of sand because that is a hot commodity, as well as another bookshelf to hold all of our stories. We, in February, welcomed Angela to our family. It's been a really, really helpful partnership. As we are investing in our children's ministry, as we are continuing to be a teaching congregation, she was looking for a community to work alongside as she went through seminary, and we were looking for somebody to help with our children, youth, and family. And she has 19 plus years of experience, so it is a match made in heaven. As well as selfishly, having somebody to work alongside is really important for my own mental and spiritual health. Ministry can be very life-giving as well as very draining and isolating. So grateful to have her to work alongside. One of the things that we are looking to do as we continue to explore and deepen our children, youth, and family is to bring back confirmation. We haven't done a confirmation in over 5 years, and we're going to take on a new model for that. Instead of forcing kids to come every single week, we're going to move into a monthly home model in which we will shift between the various homes of the students who will participate, and over a meal we'll talk about a particular lesson, and then they'll have stuff to work on during the weeks before we gather for the next time. This summer, we sent 4 kids to Luther Hill for a week of camp. Griffin, who's a member of Celebration, actually got to be a counselor for Michael. And the girls, we had 3 other girls, Edie, Emily, and Lucy, who lost a tooth while she was there, of all places. I think she lost it, and then a girl in her cabin lost it another one like 5 seconds later. It was terrifying. Emmett was able to come up for a day and spend some time at camp, and we learned how competitive Angela really is when it comes to Gaga ball. And then Michael embraced camp to a whole new level. We also celebrated 16 years as a community. We celebrated our sweet 16th birthday party, where we saw faces from the past as well as faces from the present. Lunch Bunch is one of our ongoing monthly ministries. It is a chance for folks who have the capacity during lunch once a month to gather and share a meal, but also to be in fellowship together. It rotates to a different restaurant every month. Greg is the one who heads that up. This year we also we did 3 book studies. We typically do 1 a year, and we did 3 this year. The first one was How to Be Perfect, which we all nailed. Did a great job with that. James hosted that, or facilitated that one. Then we did Searching for Sunday by Rachel Held Evans. And then we're currently, we have a couple more weeks left with Do I Stay Christian, which Pastor Wendy has been leading for us. And then Jesus and Beer morphed back into pub theology, where we're, again, rotating to various group hubs for conversation about our faith. And we've been experimenting with a different format, so if you haven't been in a while, I highly encourage you to check it back out in January when it returns. And last but not least is Serving the World. As we talked last week, this is an area of ministry that our budget has never really been able to, and probably will never be able to fully capture all that goes into serving the world. So hopefully this will help shine some light on that. Late last year, I was invited to join the Cypress Assistance Ministries Board and invited to do the invocation at their annual luncheon fundraiser, in which the MCs were, anybody know who these two guys are? News anchors, yeah, Owen Conflinty and Anthony Yanis from KRBC Channel 2 News. We donated thousands of packets of ramen noodles to camp. This is always the one that surprises me because we ask them. We never assume what it is that you need. We always ask, and they tell us ramen noodles because in the summer especially, it's an easy meal that kids can make when their parents are at work. We added condiments to the list this year as well. Murdoch's hosted our annual Christmas sing-along in which we partnered with Houston Revision, which is an organization that helps young folks who are in the juvenile justice system. And so we sang Christmas carols and raised song. We got our annual church photo. We also partnered with Holmesy Elementary, which is one of our local Title I schools. So they came out and spoke, and then we collected and filled over 30 Christmas bags. This is one of the favorite things we do this year. If you need inspiration when it comes in a couple weeks, Jason is your person. We were looking at the list, and I think it's getting updated this year, but part of what our partnership with Holmesy is, every week we pick up food from Side-Ho and drop it off at their school for anybody who needs food for over the weekend. And then come Christmas time, we provide a Christmas meal for those same families, and so we fill a bag with you can stick to the list, which I'm a stickler. Jason, they do that and add a bunch of extra stuff on top of it, as well as a gift card so that they can have the protein. And so we'll be doing that again shortly. But we did over 30 bags this year, which is the most for as long as I've been here. In March, I flew out to Orlando for the annual Exponential Conference, which is a church planting conference of over 5,000 people. So if it looks packed in there, it was. And it's one of my favorite events each year. This was the crew that we took from our Senate, who all participated as well. I know this picture looks tiny, but that's Pastor Chris at one of our regional forums. So back in 2022, up until recently, was the convener of our area's LGBTQIA+ coalition, which is made up of all of Houston's RIC congregations as well as the ones in Louisiana. And so our whole Senate. And so we gather and we plan events and coordinate with Pride. Is this guy go back to that? Yeah. And we put a resolution forward in 2022 for our Senate to consider becoming reconciled in Christ Senate, which is a clear designation to say that we're an open and affirming Senate. That's what the celebration is. So we put this resolution forward, and part of that work was a promise to host 3 regional forums, one in New Orleans, which I helped lead, another one in LaGrange, and then this one was from Houston, in which we took a couple folks from the congregation. And so we had these regional forums, and then we crafted a welcome statement that was voted on and almost unanimously approved at this year's Senate Assembly. So our Senate is now Reconciling Christ Senate. We, in October, had a worship here at Murdoch's. Cindy, this might be one of my favorite photos of you. Blippi even made a surprise appearance to help with that work in the middle there. And then if you think we weren't serious, this will prove we should. We partnered with the Sideways FFA for their annual trades show, which Randy Best from Celebration actually coordinates and organizes. And they added a trunk or treat this year because of when it fell, and so they had a hot dog to help. And we interacted with a bunch of people from the community. They had about 1,000 people each day show up for the craft show, and we got a new banner out of it for free. So there is that. And then lastly, this summer we walked in Houston's annual Pride Parade, which is something we've done each year for as long as I can remember. This was my first time to actually be able to walk in it. We were also partnered with all of the RIC congregations in our synod. And so being able to walk in it for the first time, I had a deeper appreciation for it. And if it's something that you are looking to do and have not done yet, I strongly encourage you to participate this next year. Ooh, that's a lot. This is one of my favorite Sundays of the year, in part because we get to reflect on the previous 12 months while also still looking and dreaming of what is to come next. And through our stewardship appeal, you've seen the goals that we've laid out to strengthen our community connections, to grow our faith family, and to deepen our roots. And as you've seen today, we do not do this work alone. It takes each of you to make the ministry and mission of this community move. And as our theme suggests, our future is you. But one of the deceptive parts of that appeal and of that theme is that final word, because in reality, the you is plural. This isn't our future is you, the individual, but you and you and you. It is the plural y'all, right? Our future is y'all, but it doesn't quite ring quite as well. So our future is you. And that comes through in a multitude of ways. It comes through on a Wednesday driving to Side Help and picking up food, and then driving 30 minutes across town to Holmesley and dropping it off and ensuring that students have food for the weekend. It comes through in the return of your statements of intent as you discern and dwell the ways in which your financial generosity can benefit and impact this congregation and the community at large. It comes through in gathering at a local pub and being vulnerable and willing to share your own faith and curiosities and doubts and wonders. It comes through in showing up each Sunday for worship, to worship a God who sees us and knows us and loves us. It comes through in embracing the youngest amongst us to give them space to go around that field and then come in here and cause chaos at the same time. And to give them space where they can explore their faith through godly play, to wonder aloud what God might be up to in their lives. It comes through in showing up for people when they need it the most. It comes through how we show the love of Christ to the world around us. It comes from walking in a parade during the hottest month of the year to remind people that God loves them. And so no matter whether we worship outdoors in God's creation or we pile into a house called the doghouse, whether we're in a coffee shop or a pub or in the parking lot of Home Depot, we will never lose sight of our purpose to celebrate Christ's care for others and serve the world. And we are at our best when we do this work together. Amen.